मुझे नहीं मालूम दूसरे लोग आर्ट को कैसे देखते हैं। मेरा आर्ट को देखने का क्या तरीका होता है कि जब मैं किसी आर्ट के सामने खड़ा हूँ, उसको देख रहा हूँ, तो वहाँ फिर मैं नहीं खड़ा हूँ। जो मेरी पसंद है या नापसंद है वो चीज़ें वहाँ ख़त्म हो जाती हैं। मैं देखने की कोशिश करता हूँ कि आर्टिस्ट क्या कह रहा है, वो उस आर्टिस्ट का काम है और मैं उसको उसी की पसंद से देखना पसंद करता हूँ। रिएक्ट करने की तो उसमें कोई बात नहीं आएगी। मैं पूछना चाहूँगा उनसे सबसे पहले कि क्यों, आपको क्यों लगता है कि मुझे ऐसा काम नहीं करना चाहिए। और मैं सीधे सीधे उनसे पूछना चाहूँगा कि मैंने एक पेंटिंग बनाई है, आपको लगता है कि मुझे वो नहीं बनानी चाहिए। मैं उनसे सीधे सीधे क्वेश्चन करना चाहूँगा कि क्या आप चाय पीते हैं। वो बोलेंगे हाँ पीता हूँ। मैं उनको बोलूँगा कि मुझे पसंद नहीं है आपका चाय पीना, आप छोड़ दीजिए। क्या वो छोड़ पाएंगे? एक नॉर्मल सा क्वेश्चन होता है, बस नॉर्मल सी चीज़ है। वो भी अपनी लाइफ में बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी करते हैं जो उनको पसंद होता है करना, और दूसरों को पसंद नहीं होता है, दूसरों को अच्छा भी नहीं लगता है, लेकिन वो मुझे पसंद है करना। अगर उनको पसंद नहीं है तो मैं उनको समझाऊंगा, बात करूंगा उनसे, और फिर भी अगर नहीं पसंद है तो वो उनका अपना व्यक्तिगत विचार होगा, मैं सम्मान करूंगा उस चीज़ का।
You know, that art is about exploring boundaries and the boundaries of what's acceptable, and also perhaps transcending certain censorship barriers in order to produce a public debate about what's being represented, and that if there is censorship, one can't really debate it and argue it out. And I would go back to some in your history, the court of Akbar, who invited atheists, Jains, Buddhists, Christians, Greeks to debate the nature of life and being. And I think that's what art should do, that art has a philosophical duty to debate those things. The one work that I find offensive as a woman is any work that degrades women in some way. But because I find it offensive, but I don't believe it should be censored. You see, I think it should be open to debate and discussion, because an informed position and informed debate is surely a better way to resolve any conflict than just censorship. Well, I mean, in photography, I could see that it might be problematic to show a decapitated body, for example, in a field. To photograph dead bodies could be quite problematic, although they appear often in the news for, you know, for relevant reasons, so that people can actually discuss, you know, the atrocities of war or whatever. So, nonetheless, even those extreme images, I don't think should be censored. I think people should be treated as intelligent, people should be respected and not treated like children.
Definitely. I mean, but where you draw the line is very difficult. You've got to obviously, I mean, there's some people who actually use the human remains and then make them into art, and if that's a strong line or not, I'm not too sure. I'm never too sure really quite where those lines are. Every time they change, and I think more things, animals that are living and you hurt them, then that's for me is offensive. To tell you the truth, I haven't really found much very offensive as yet. You have to, no, I haven't. No. I think you've got to be open and you've got to really study what people are doing and find out the basis behind it.
I I'll tell you where everything started for me. It was the Babri Masjid riots in 1992 when I was in Mumbai and saw the absolute horrors that man can inflict on man. Right? So this entire body of work started then. Has it been challenging? Absolutely. How do you talk about violence? And right now, especially with so much violence across the world, it's something that a lot of people do not want to address. So as an artist, that becomes a huge challenge. It's more the audience, not the art. Audience around the world are afraid, not afraid, they're perhaps tired of talking about violence or any delicate issues. I hear that. So yeah, it's so many layers that one has to sort of navigate and negotiate and then come up with a product. How do I navigate? I just let myself go. There's no real formula to navigate through what you want to say, right? Like there's no given formula. So yeah, I just put down what I feel. While art is not supposed to please, I'm a firm believer that art is not meant to please. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
There were some video pieces by a German artist, I think he's German or Belgian, called Arnold Rainer, and they were pretty brutal and violent, very violent. And I remember thinking they were quite extreme and quite obsessive, and I wasn't quite sure what was being said about them, but I found them pretty repulsive and they made me feel very sick. Well, I think finding something offensive and then commenting on freedom of expression are two different things. I mean, even though I found that work repulsive and revolting, I wasn't saying they should ban it or it shouldn't be shown. Speaking personally, I guess I think everything should have a freedom of expression as long as it is not hurting anyone else directly, physically. If something is being made and it is actually in the process of being made has actually physically harmed someone or something living, then I think there's a moral foundation to that perhaps needing to be suppressed.